Just when you thought your team had sunk to the bottom of the barrel, whether you're an NBA fan, an NFL fan, an NHL fan, a fan of pickleball, the Brooklyn Nets are here to remind you there's always a team that's worse than your team. They're the most morally corrupt franchise in the history of organized sports. First, in the manner in which they've handled this entire Kyrie Irving mess, with him, of course, posting a link to an anti-Semitic video and book, and then double down on it saying, I ain't taking it down. These are the beliefs I want to share with people. Then he does take it down, and then the Nets decide, you know what? We're mad at Kyrie. Let's fire the head coach. What? And that's what they did yesterday. Steve Nash apparently went to Joe Tsai, the owner of the Nets, and said, they're not listening to me anymore. When did they listen to Steve Nash, right?
Seriously.
Right? Now, you were at the game last night, and there's a lot of angles to this. There's the Kyrie Irving stuff. Brooklyn, of course, has a large Jewish population. They were sold out. No one's boycotting that basketball. He's also not spoken since that cringeworthy Saturday night press conference. They've played 7 games, right? 8 games now. And they've already decided that we're not playing the type of basketball we wanted. That's the type of basketball this team has always played. They don't play defense. They rely on one guy to carry the load, and that guy can no longer do it by himself. But the report came out that the Nets in the next 24 hours are going to sign Ime Udoka, the embattled former head coach of the Boston Celtics, who, oh, by the way, is currently under suspension from the Boston Celtics for alleged workplace harassment towards female employees. So let's get this right. We have an anti-Semitic superstar who we're not going to punish, we're not going to suspend, we're not going to say anything against. And while we're dealing with that mess, we're going to fire our Hall of Fame basketball player turned head coach, and we're going to hire a guy that's currently suspended by another NBA team for sexual harassment in the workplace. What the F is going on in Brooklyn? You were there last night. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. There's nothing to say. It's beyond comical.
It's a lot going on, man, but this is the NBA.
No, I don't accept that. I don't accept this is the NBA. This shouldn't be the NBA.
It can definitely be handled better. But I'll start with Steve Nash.
Go ahead.
It never worked.
No, he was a terrible head coach.
It never worked. And I believe that they should have known this was going to happen when he was already hired and Kyrie Irving said, hey, really don't need a head coach.
Right. He said that on a podcast with Durant. Yes.
The first year.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, with the guys we got, we honestly really know we can coach ourselves. They should have known then it wasn't going to work. And then you have this offseason. KD is, so it was reported.
Right.
He asked for, it was either me or Steve Nash.
Right.
Like, when this stuff is constantly happening, Steve Nash can't come in the office and say, yeah, they're just not listening to me. They're not responding. They never did.
Right.
So, like, how they went about it, I mean, that's how they went about it. But this was, Steve Nash and the Nets was never going to work.
No, and it's funny because there's so many different parts of this. We'll stick with the Steve Nash part for a second. I have no problem if you want to fire Steve Nash. Right. It's fine. They haven't gotten the job done. But when the immediate report comes out that the Boston Celtics are going to let Ime go and they don't want anything in return, please, you take him. Like, we don't want this trash anymore. You can have him. He had a single year as a head coach, and he did take the Celtics to an NBA final. And he was an assistant coach with the Brooklyn Nets, and the guys love him. But, memo, he is currently under suspension from the Boston Celtics. Why do you think they're so eager for you to take him off their hands? And if you listen to some guys in the NBA, the things we think we know about Ime isn't the half of it. It's supposedly a lot worse than just an office place affair. Worse than verbally berating female employees, worse than sexual harassment. God knows what it is. But if you're the Nets and you are sitting on a powder keg of one of your best players being anti-Semitic and not wavering on his anti-Semitism with the video and book that he promoted on his social media, and you're dealing with that, And now you're going to bring into the organization a guy who just got suspended because of sexual harassment. Somebody's not paying attention.
Yeah, and it's almost like they're overlooking the moral compass.
They have no moral compass.
To win.
Yes.
You know, and for the Nets, if they're looking at the Boston Celtics, they're thinking, hey, listen, the Boston Celtics suspended him, not the NBA. So whatever's going on over there, they know, but that's their problem. We bring him over here, that's not our problem. That's something they have to deal with over there now. Yes, you're going to have to deal with what comes with that, with the cloud that's over Coach Udoka's head, but they're thinking he's been here before, he's a strong personality. He took that young team of talented guys to the finals. We have vets who are talented. If he can get them to the finals with two guys who have won rings before, he can put us over the top. We need somebody of his stature to be able to deal with all of these strong personalities. Kyrie's not going to listen to nobody.
Correct.
So you have to bring somebody in that's been there before, and perhaps he'll at least say, okay, let me take a step back and at least try and hear you. He wasn't trying to hear nothing from nobody, and he's usually not. Maybe you bring Ime in, then you got somebody that can handle all of these strong personalities.
Well, Kyrie decided not to speak after last night's game, a game they lost to the Bulls. You were there. He didn't speak after the win against the Pacers 2 nights ago. Sean Marks was asked about what the heck are the Brooklyn Nets doing in relation to the anti-Semitism that came from their star guard.
Yes.
Like, we're adults here, right? You're a successful businessman. You're an adult. Do you need the Anti-Defamation League to tell you what's right and what's wrong? Do you really need them? Or are you begging them not to organize a protest and a boycott against your franchise, which is your bigger concern? We don't need to wait for Kyrie Irving to simmer down. Kyrie Irving's an adult. He believes what he believes. And by the way, he's allowed to believe it. As offensive and abhorrent and objectionable as it is, he's allowed to believe those things, and we're allowed to react to it. The NBA and the Brooklyn Nets should have suspended him for an indefinite amount of time until they figured out what was going on. The fact that the Brooklyn Nets are now relying on the ADL to advise them as to what to do is one of the biggest cop-outs I've ever come across. This is not that difficult, is it?
Well, here's what I'll say about the situation. Like you said, Kyrie believes what he believes. All I will say about the situation is this. Before you post anything, say anything, make any actions, do extensive research on what you're talking about. That's whether it is religion, another ethnicity, men, women, the LGBTQ community. It doesn't matter what it is. Do extensive research. And then once you say or do whatever you do, be ready for the backlash. Once the backlash happens, what I feel like Kyrie should be doing right now is take a step back and hear the other side out. It doesn't matter what it is, your stance is. Be willing to hear the other side so we can have a conversation and get some understanding. I feel like he's just so stern on what he believes, and that's fine. But we have to start doing more research on what we're talking about. Man, this off season, I had an opportunity to go to Israel. Went to the Holocaust Museum. I seen all of those kid shoes. I met with a survivor. I've seen the pain and hurt that came from it. But not only that, I'm a black man in America. So I understand how one ethnicity can feel like it's not going our way, or hasn't been going our way, or our history is just a terrible history and it's not something we want to relive, and it's not something you joke about. It's not a game. And I can understand the pain and hurt that everybody is dealing with as a black man in America. So if he feels that way, I feel like me as a black man in America, if I feel a certain way and I want to say, hey, that hurt me, that hurt my people, I feel like that side should understand, listen to me, so we can come to an understanding, so we can understand each other. And if we can do that, not just as organization, NBA, but just as people, period, I feel like we can get to the bottom of things and things can go a lot smoothly. But everybody is so stern, and it's such a debate, and it's not a conversation. And we don't have conversations anymore to where we can understand each other. And because we don't, we get this.
Hey there, thank you so much for watching The Carton Show. You can subscribe right here to get all the latest bits and segments from the show. And by the way, while you're at it, we have a lot of great shows on FS1, so check them out too.